Guys, that's 2 days, 2 picks that I really like, and I feel like I like them for all the right reasons. Good morning to you. Good Saturday morning for this special edition Daily Shot of Steelers. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is shaping up pretty nicely. Now, I'm not just saying that because I had hoped to see a best player available taken for the defensive line in the first round, and I had been telling you for weeks that they were going to prioritize running back. They ended up getting one of those last night. Iowa's Kaleb Johnson, 83rd overall pick, 3rd round, was the only choice on day 2. There was no movement, no trades, no nothing like that. They got themselves a guy who's 6'1", 224, has good football speed, is unusually light on his feet for 224, it can accelerate quickly, can get off of tackles and bounce and keep moving in the correct direction. There's a lot to like here. But just to be sure about that, here was Johnson's own assessment when asked of what kind of a back Pittsburgh's getting.
They're going to get a physical running back, or one that loves to score touchdowns, and just a guy that's ready to work and be determined and, ready to give, the Steelers his all, man. That's all.
I like that. Like that a lot. Mentioned touchdowns. He had 21 of those last season for Iowa. 1,500 yards, 1,535 to be specific. Had a lot of that in chunks. 28 carries of 15-plus yards, 21 carries of 20-plus yards, 6 of those for 40-plus yards. That's really nice. 4.42 yards after initial contact. And I understand it's college football. It's not the same. Every once in a while, you're going to run into opponents that are grossly overmatched. That's still very impressive by any measurement. And what the Steelers continue to do is build up that offense, even without having yet declared themselves as having a starting quarterback. Because why not? What's stopping you from doing that? If you look now at this team's skill positions, and you look at the wide receivers with DK Metcalf added to George Pickens, Calvin Austin, maybe Roman Wilson someday, tight ends, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, Jaylen Warren as your feature back, Kenneth Gainwell, don't forget about him, they picked up from Philadelphia. He is not just here as a kick returner. He is going to take snaps with the regular offense. And then you just either, cross your fingers for the offensive line to finally get it together, and specifically Broderick Jones. And then you talk about quarterback as much as you can. I'm all in favor of Mason Rudolph being the starter. I wanted to ask on the record what Arthur Smith thought of that. And Smith was brought into the room and he was told, hey, he told everybody, I'm not here for any quarterback questions. I'm just the coordinator. I was told to come in here and talk about Kaleb Johnson. That's what I'm going to do. All right, fine. But I'll say this. The more this offense develops, meaning the rest of these guys, and now adding Johnson, and before that, Metcalf and Gainwell, you are talking about an offense that is significantly stronger than the one Mason was winning with in late 2023. You're also talking about, and Smith won't say this, so I will, an offense that's aligned more and more with what he'd been coaching in Nashville with the Titans when they had the Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill group there. Because as Smith would point out here, he gets labeled as being, the guy who wants to run the ball. But as he pointed out, he said, we just brought in DK Metcalf. We're going to take shots. We're going to throw the ball downfield. Well, Mason can do that too. Because the running game can also do that sort of thing. Listen to what Smith had to say about Johnson's skill set here.
I think regardless of your scheme, and where you're not just plotting, where you're just 2, 3, 4 yards and multiple 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 4s. I mean, you'd like to get those chunk plays. I mean, that's just history will tell you that, whether you want to look at advanced analytics or regardless of how that, you look at the game, that opens up and it usually produces more touchdowns, and that's what we're looking for. It just, at times, probably the middle point of the season, we were hitting some explosives, a little bit of how people were playing us and the way we're attacking, but we got to have more ways to get those chunk plays.
You hear that? Have to have more ways to get those chunk plays. Now, you're going to have, people who parse this sort of thing and interpret that as some sort of, shot at Najee Harris or whatever, because he was never that running back. He wasn't that running back in college. What he was pretty much what you just heard Smith describing there. 2, 3, 4 yards, multiple 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 4s. He wants to get away from that. Steelers want to get away from that. They feel that between Warren and Johnson, they're going to have a better chance of doing that. And I like it. I'm going to keep saying this. I like it. The one thing this offense has been missing for pretty much the entirety of the past half decade is dynamism. And I'm even including Ben Roethlisberger's final year or two, where you just had this sense that on any given play, ... They haven't had that. He's talking, you hear Smith say it here, about explosiveness, hitting some explosives, he calls them. And Smith's belief, and he's laid this out for me several times before, isn't just that you got to be big so that you can go 1.5 yards in a cloud of dust. It's got to be big so that you can exercise your will, you can build up that confidence, and also keep the opponent honest. One of the many things that's driven all of us nuts, if you think about this offense over the past few years, is that the Steelers haven't been able to have the defense wondering about anything, because the defense could just say, listen, they can't run a ball on us. We don't need to do anything special. Or if the defense was effective at running the ball, then we're just going to put 8, 9, 10, 13 guys on the line because they're not going to beat us through the air. Ultimately, you have to do both. You have to demonstrate the ability to do both. You can't do that without the bigs, without the push. Have I mentioned yet that I like this? When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from JP, who says, DK, great pick Steelers made. I thought in Kaleb Johnson. Can't believe he was there. If the Steelers don't get a quarterback, would Will Levis be worth a trade for a 6th or 7th round pick, or is he just done? There has to still be something there. I have a couple of different ways to answer this, and I'm going to start with the Levis portion of it. He's not a free agent for anybody who knows. He gets discussed an awful lot, and that's because the Titans apparently are very much open to trading him, especially now that they've just added Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick in this ongoing draft. What would it take? I don't know. You could do it, I guess, for something in that range. But the Titans have almost as much to gain from keeping Levis around as Levis would from staying around. I'll tell you that my feelings on Levis have always been a bit biased, as they are with most athletes that I cover. And when I say cover, you know that I always mean being there in person. Because when he and the Titans played at Acrisure Stadium, I saw some things that were really, really impressive. Now, that obviously did not pan out. He lost his job to Mason Rudolph, and then he lost his job, or his status, I guess you could say, as franchise QB in the same calendar year. Would he be worth some kind of flyer? Yeah, but I would imagine the Steelers aren't the only team that are thinking that way. And if you end up raising that subject internally, it would probably be after you find out that you're not getting Aaron Rodgers or you're not getting Kirk Cousins or whoever else. Okay, now to the more plausible scenario. You said if the Steelers don't get a quarterback, and I'm sure that you meant in today's final 4 rounds of the draft. I'm feeling that a quarterback is likely. They put a lot of work into this class, and as we've seen already with Derek Harmon and now Johnson, those efforts aren't wasted. Not very often anyway. If they're looking at a certain group, a certain positional crop, they're going to go at those guys and they're going to go at them hard. Well, they went at quarterback just as hard as they did defensive line, just as hard as they did running back. Arguably harder than either of those other two. And if you look at who's available, who's still there, I mean, dude, there were discussions not all that long ago about Will Howard being somebody that they would consider with the 21st overall pick. They weren't sane discussions, okay, but there were discussions. And here we are entering day 3, and Howard, who just led Ohio State to glory and got better with every passing game, pun intended. And he can run a little bit too, had designed runs in the Buckeyes offense. In addition to being your standard pro-style, stand-up, hold-the-pocket kind of quarterback. There are others, too, probably more than most would have thought would be here. Howard's the one that surprises me, not Deion's kid, because I'm not susceptible to ESPN trying to turn somebody into Tim Tebow every year. Howard's a real live player. Howard's a real live quarterback. Howard's somebody who still has the capability to grow onto what he'd already become, first at Kansas State, then at Ohio State, and then at the various sessions that follow the college season. I do think you're going to see a quarterback today. I do think it's a possibility for the 4th round, meaning this round that we're about to run into head first, beginning at noon Eastern Time. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to this special edition of Daily Shot of Steelers. And you know what? Might as well just do another one of these tomorrow, right? All right, cool. See you then.